Hello and welcome to the That's So Craven podcast, your Fulham podcast from Down Under. We are back again to discuss Fulham versus Aston Villa, a disappointing 2-1 loss, disappointing refereeing performance, and a lot to discuss after the game, I think. And joining us for it, we have Sammy. How are we going?
Hello, I'm actually really tired, first and foremost, and I'll be 100% upfront. I'm slightly multitasking right now, but all for the good of the cause, and I'm always happy to be here. Always happy to be here with my family. You know, it's fun.
Lovely stuff, Sammy. Thank you for showing up slightly later after lambasting us and saying you better be there on time. Dad, how are we going tonight?
I'm well, thanks. Hello, everyone. And I just want you to know that I'm fully focused. I'm single tasking, and you have my full attention.
It's always good to know. Sammy, take note. That's how fathers do it. Let's get straight into the game. So, a 2-1 to Villa. Look, it's an interesting one because this Villa team is absolutely flying at the moment, doing incredibly well, sitting very high up in the league. You know, there's people still talking about Villa potentially challenging for the title. But I personally went into this game thinking that there was the potential for us to take something away from it. Dad, was that your thoughts going into this game? Were we just being overly positive, or do you genuinely think there was a chance here for Fulham to take at least a point?
Definitely. I look at, not least with the guys from Nigeria back on board. I suspected they wouldn't play a role in the starting lineup, but I thought that we had as full a deck of cards as one could hope for, and I thought we started pretty well. I remained optimistic until things went bad.
I mean, things going bad. Like, I'm not even sure. I was actually really happy. I know we lost 2-1, but like I was actually really, really happy overall with how we played, because Aston Villa, particularly at the moment, they're a serious team, and I think there is a lot of positives to actually take out of this game. I think we actually performed quite well considering, and we actually did give them a decent run. Like game could have been really, really catastrophic, and I actually think we actually, I don't know, and like okay, before the game started, I literally said, if Muniz scores, I'm really, really happy, and I just want the guys to front up, and that's kind of what I got. So I'm kind of in good spirits about this. Is that wrong of me? I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well,
no, I don't think so.
I think if you expect really good teams to come up with moments of brilliance, and they certainly took their opportunities, but it's a little disappointing that kind of glaring errors let us down, which no doubt we'll come on to.
Yeah, we'll definitely get onto the game. But to your point, Sammy, it is a very good Villa team. And, you know, look at someone like Ollie Watkins. Admittedly, 2 of his goals this season have now come against us. But in previous seasons in the Premier League, he scored 14 goals, 11 goals, 15 goals. That's from playing pretty much every game with, still 13 games to go or slightly more than that. He's already got 13 goals. So he's having a seriously good season just personally for him. And I think when you come up against a team who has a player like that up front in such good form, and you've got a good base around them as well, they're always going to be hard to play against. And look, the week before we played Bournemouth, I think we dealt with Solanke really well. But I think Watkins is just a slightly different beast. And you know, you see it by the fact that he's getting picked in the England squad ahead of Solanke, who's in great form at the moment. But we handled Solanke very well and shut down the sort of service to him. But this Villa side, when you look at someone like Leon Bailey, who caused us a lot of grief on the wing, and, you know, Robinson has been having a really good season so far this year. He just got torn to shreds by Bailey on the weekend, who is a very good player, very quick feet, quick movements, cutting inside, and Robinson struggled all game long, and then from there, Watkins was, you know, given a bit of a free rein against us.
Sorry, Yeah, no, and I'm sure you're probably gonna get onto this at some point, Jack. But I mean, and I don't want this to be a circle jerk about Aston Villa because we are a Fulham podcast, but genuinely, they're a really deceptive team in terms of like you've got players like Tielemans, you've got even Douglas Luiz, who's been in the Premier League for ages now, like across the park. Really, really strong and really, really consistent. So again, Bailey completely shut down Robinson, but I think we were largely, if we weren't necessarily shut down, it was very, very competitive among the entire game, and then, the last 10 minutes was just the apex of that. Was just everything just went crazy, and the kitchen sink was thrown at the wall and all that stuff because it's like, what else do we do? What else do we do?
Yeah, it's a good point. And if we look at the stats for the game, I'll just pull them up on the live stream for those following. It's actually very even. Fulham with 52% possession to Villa's 48. Fulham 15 shots on goal, Villa 12. Fulham 4 on target, Villa 3. Passes were within 25 of each other, same number of corners. Fulham with more fouls, and we'll get on to maybe looking at the referee's performance. But it does prove that this was a very tight game between two good sides who are in fairly good form. I'd say the one negative for me would be, well, not negative, but something that I wish had happened was I wish Nigeria had been knocked out of AFCON a week earlier, just so we had a fully fit Iwobi and a fully fit Calvin Bassey starting in that lineup, because I think Ream and Diop are just a step below where Bassey is. And I saw it when Bassey came on, he looked great. And even Iwobi playing out of position looked pretty handy as well. And I think we were probably just a week off having a few players back from injury like Harry Wilson, Iwobi, Bassey. And I think we could have really given Villa a bit of a fright in this game and taken points and maybe even taken all three if we'd taken some chances better. But to say that at the same time, I think Villa probably should have put away a couple of chances early doors as well. So, look, a 2-1 result for me personally seems fair. But, Dad, let's talk about the first goal. I'll throw to you. We were sat together watching this game, and it kind of came out of the blue. I actually think I had my head down looking at Twitter at the time when the throw-in happened. But it's something we've seen Fulham do this season a fair bit, that throw-in that sort of runs across the centre of the pitch and then we spread it to the other side and have that quick transition. But we just completely cocked it up, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I was completely astonished when that happened. I mean, there are many football codes out there, and I think every single one of them says, if in doubt, go down the line. And it's interesting. There were two other options. Well, there were two other men involved. One was Polinia doing nothing. One was Kearney kind of ambling around and not really making himself available. Kind of surprising to me that Willian actually ran into the space. So he must be at least half responsible for creating the opportunity, which just doesn't come off. His man follows him into the space. And I suppose, half a second, half a yard more, and Williams got the space to knock that to Leno, and on we go. But it falls apart. It's a very risky move, and I know lots of people on Twitter have been talking about it, and rightly so. We're really not very good at throw-ins. I actually remember commenting that when Castagna came into this side, I thought he was a little bit of a breath of fresh air in terms of how quickly and proactive he was with throw-ins. And he kind of looks to do something, and he seems quite switched on. And I know that Liverpool have got a throw-in coach, and who knows, maybe other people do as well. But it seems that we're just not very good at that aspect of the game. And it surely, what is the point of winning a throw-in if you can't do anything very effective with it? And if teams practice 20 set pieces for corners or whatever, why can't we have more up our sleeves on the left, on the right? It just seems like a gaping omission for us to not be tactically on top of or better at.
Well, I'm not going to claim in any capacity to be a throw-in expert or have a detailed understanding of that in the game. My understanding is when you're pushing the ball back, it's just to actually open up space to then move forward. But it's a really simplistic move. And if anything, it's just really, really short-sighted by us because, of course, in my opinion at least, of course, Villa's going to be completely all over that. And all it just takes is just one mistake for them to capitalize. And that's exactly what they did. I don't know. Is that too simplistic of you? Or?
Well, I kind of disagree. I think you're asking for us to do more from throw-ins, but it's a set piece effectively. What we've tried to do here, it's obvious what we do is we push men up the line to open that space in the middle. We throw the ball across Willian's body, so it looks like it's going to him. The defender gets drawn to the line. The ball then runs across Willian, and he has all the open space to then go and attack down the other wing. The problem is it's a mistake. It's a poorly executed throw. And we see it with corners. Our live stream is going off in the chat about how terrible we are at set pieces. And it's true. We see it with corners as well. We try a lot of interesting things with corners and it never comes off. Sometimes I think it's better for us to just, put it in the box, put it on someone's head. And, we got tall players in the box. Why are we playing the ball around short? Why are we trying to get volleys from the edge of the box sometimes? I know we got the players to do it, but still seems risky. And in the same sense, I think with throw-ins, especially deep like that, you throw it up the line, defender heads the ball out of play, and you get another throw-in, and you just creep up the line and get territory effectively. But I don't hate the idea of mixing it up with the throw-ins. We just got caught out there. And I don't know if it's Villa maybe being a little bit more prepared than we were, because Jacob Ramsey, I think it is, who makes the tackle on Willian, it's like he sees and knows what Willian is going to do.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think they just completely telegraphed it and just completely telegraphed Diop as well.
Telegraphed and also just fucked it up as well, to be perfectly honest and blunt about it. Robinson, it is a poor throw. He puts far too much juice on it and puts it too far away from Willian. And Willian is not quite as quick as he used to be, gets shoved off the ball very easily. It bobbles around a bit, and we're probably a bit unlucky that Willian gets another touch on it because I think Diop is in a pretty good position to clear. But Watkins, you give him the ball in that area, he's never going to miss. And it's a good finish from him. He takes his time and turns onto his stronger side rather than trying to take a snapshot at it and puts it away past Leno, no chance, and 1-0 down. And not the position you want to be in after 23 minutes against a very good Villa side. Dad, from there, how do you think we bounced back after that? Because it's quite a blow. And, the Villa fans went loud at that point as well. It was booming through the TV as we're watching. I can only imagine what it was like in the ground. But do you think Fulham actually bounced back fairly well? We've conceded goals quite quickly in multiple occasions. I think personally we actually held together pretty well and pushed back from there.
Yeah, so do I. And that's, I think that's, we've been reasonably good at that over the last couple of months. When we do concede, it doesn't all go to shit. So I don't feel like we're guilty of that at all, and certainly not in this case. As Sam said in the beginning of this chat, I honestly don't think this was a terrible performance by us at all. Not at all. No. But it's just a couple of really key mistakes, and we got completely professionally punished for it. It's just disappointing.
It's a weird one as well, because any other season, losing 2-1 to Aston Villa, it screams a lot worse than it actually is. But I mean, it was I genuinely see it as a really competitive game. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm actually watching it back right now just to remind myself. And this is a very, very competitive contest. I mean, pretty much directly after the first goal, Ream has a crack, and then Like there's a lot of pressing going on. At no point are we completely out of this game. But yeah, they're just a very, very good side. They're a top 4 side. You can't not deny that at this stage. I don't know. There's just a bit of cognitive distortion going on there because you think it's Aston Villa. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's they're a good side. We can't knock that. But again, we're creating our own. We're smashing ourselves here. We are constantly creating errors and creating chances for the opposition. We've seen it multiple times this season. I'm thinking some dodgy back passes, some stupid fouls in dangerous areas, just silly little things where if you fix that, we probably pick up an extra 10 points this season. But again, that's something for Marco and the team to work with off the field.
This throw-in sort of botched move aside, doesn't that just tell the story of our instability at the back this season with injuries and just sort of it hasn't been settled?
I wouldn't put it down to that though. I mean, it's Robinson who's played every game and Willian who isn't a defender. I don't think it's the instability at the back.
No, hold on. Robinson got outplayed by Bailey. Overall,
yeah, but we're not talking about that for the goal.
Absolutely not. The goal, are we not agreeing that it was risky, but a move that it is one of our set piece throw-in moves, poorly executed, and they capitalized. Okay. But I'm talking about in general, our goals conceded are areas of confusion early in the season with Bassi playing on the right. It was not our perfect back four by any means.
Yeah,
I think we've struggled with that. And just when Bassi comes in and is looking incredibly imposing, and Castagne's doing a good job, suddenly Tosin's injured or Diop's injured, and it's been really tricky, really difficult.
I think confusing is actually a really, really good word, Dad. Just because if you compare like our current squad to that of last season just felt so cohesive and just so solid. We weren't the perfect article by any means, but it felt like everyone had a purpose within the squad, and there was so much trust across the park. Literally, just kind of like looking back at this game, we're not playing terribly, but you can see that there is just a whole bunch of not like people are trying things and they're expecting people to be in certain places. Notably, when Pereira did a little flick back to like Kearney, and Kearney wasn't necessarily there on time. I don't necessarily even think it's anyone's fault in particular. It's just we don't really have full cohesion at the moment. We're a bit of a squad in transition. There is so much that has to be sorted out for next season. I mean, realistically, at this point in the season, we should actually have that 100%. We know what our best starting 11 is. I'm sure you guys can agree. I actually have no idea what our best and most cohesive starting 11 is, even though we actually have really, really solid players across the park. There doesn't seem to be a lot of it just doesn't. It feels very clunky at the moment, and I really hope we don't persist with this next season at all.
Well, I mean, it all depends on the moves we're making, but again, I think the clunkiness does come down to a bit of misfortune and timing and bad luck. I think it kind of seems like Bassi and Tosin are our best two defenders as an option.
Totally.
Tosin spent the majority of the start of the season out, and there's obviously a lot going on with his potential contract as well. Bassi, didn't start at the start of the season after he was first signed, then got put out of position, finally found himself in his correct position, then went off to AFCON. I don't know the stat for it. I should look it up and find out, but I can't imagine Tosin and Bassi have played more than 4 games together all season. And that's probably our best back two for me personally, at least. And so it's been constant change, constant mishmash. If we went into next season with Tosin and Bassi as our back two, I wouldn't be disappointed. I'd like to see us sign someone else because I think Tosin will probably leave. But I think our defense has the potential to be quite good and quite strong because I think Robinson has been brilliant this season so far, and Castagna/Tete both have the potential to be very good. It'll be interesting to see the moves we make in the market and if it's a focus on tying down Tosin or bringing in someone new. Either way, I just feel like this season as a whole, when you talk about Mitro, you talk about the Polina hassle, everything that's happened this season, it's been clunky and a bit fractionally unlucky as well. And I'm already looking forward to next season for us to actually have the opportunity to build something a little bit better than we've currently got.
I actually truly don't think it can be overlooked when you compare performances, cohesion, and just the whole thing clicking from last season to this season. We actually have had some really quite significant injuries to key players.
Oh yeah,
that injury to Pereira, he had a good season last season. People love dumping on Pereira. He had an incredible season, and he had a major injury, which I was astonished at how quickly he actually came back from. Really, I thought he'd be out the whole season, and then he reappeared. People talk about Ream and how from last year to this year, he's still good from time to time, but he's not the same Ream that he was last year. And I know nothing happened to his legs, but he had a bone break in his arm, and that forced him out for quite a while. And I think it really affected his momentum. Diop's had an injury. Kenny Tete, he still shows signs of it, but he can't actually put it together at the moment. I would always want to pick him because I love him and I love what he does, but he can't actually put it together at the moment. He's struggling for match fitness and form. So those are huge players for us who, on paper, you still want to kind of pick as our best players on a day, but their form's patchy. And I can only think that those serious injuries have actually had a big effect.
Oh yeah, as well. And like these, let's call it what it is. We have a very aging squad, and I'm not going to criticize Ream, say for example, for having an injury, being 36, and then not coming back like a spring chicken, completely refreshed. Like, God forbid anything happens.
We're not criticizing. We're not criticizing. We're just trying to find some reasons, behind some of these things, which are a bit nuanced and quite difficult to put your finger on, because you look at them and you think, well, they're still playing pretty much the same way, but major injuries really do derail you. And some players get a major injury and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's bounce back to the game itself. Halftime 1-0. Again, I thought it was very even at that point, and there was definitely the opportunity for Fulham to get back into the game, but it felt like we needed to score the next goal to really have a chance here. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. A really good through ball set Watkins away, and at first I thought it was a poor effort from Leno, and I thought he maybe should have done a little bit better, but it's actually a thumped finish from Watkins, and he puts the ball away to make it 2-1. 56 minutes gone. Sam, I'll throw to you first. Did you think there was any chance Fulham are coming back and getting anything out of this game at that point?
Oh, look, I thought we were actually genuinely playing too good for it to be all doom and gloom. Look, 2-0's never ideal, but I thought Robinson in particular had such a good game. He's genuinely been so
really?
Like, this is easy. Yeah, I thought he's really, really strong. Look, even though he was like harshly contested by Bailey, considering it's Bailey, and Bailey is extremely quick, I actually thought Robinson actually did some quite good stuff. For Christ's sake, he set up Muniz's goal, and he was actually really, really active.
But he is first and foremost a left back, and that implies defense. And if you're not shutting down the guy you're matching up against, then I don't know that you can say that he's had a great game.
Well, I always see Robinson as attacking wing back more so than like a left back, and yeah, maybe we can contest that, but that's just kind of how I've always seen him. I've always seen him as driving forward, and as long as Robinson's actually driving forward and creating crosses, that's all I really ask of him. I don't ask too much defensively of him. I've never really seen him that sort of player. What was the original question?
You've never seen Robinson as a defender.
I've just never seen him. I know he's a defender, but like I've never seen him as like that intensely like hard pressing left back. That's just not who he is. I see him as darting up the left hand side and pulling crosses in. That's what I see him as.
I'm just trying to find a spade to see if I can hand you one through my screen so that you can dig yourself out of that one.
To be honest, I don't really care. Like that's huh?
That's all good. Look, yeah, we'll definitely talk about that goal for Muniz. Well, let's go on to it now because obviously we're 2-0 down at this point. And look, Robinson does do well. At first, I thought the ball was sort of dead and buried, and again, that's the joy of having someone like Robinson with his pace to be able to get to the byline. He puts a ball in. And look, it's not the best ball in the world, but well done from Muniz. Moves really well, gets to the front post. And before we actually talk about the finish, I think Muniz had, in general, a very good game again. I think he didn't get a huge amount of service, but he harried very well up top. He put his body around. He won a few headers. His passing and hold-up play was generally quite good. And he's improving week on week for us at the moment. It's just pleasing to see because that's what you want from a player like that. And he's starting to deliver. And again, we saw him deliver a 4th goal in 3 games. He's picked up 3 man of the matches for Fulham in the last 3 games. The man's on fire at the moment. And it's a really good finish past a World Cup winning goalkeeper. He doesn't give the ball up, attacks the near post, gets a little toe on it and puts it away. And look, I'm so stoked for the bloke. He's loving his football at the moment. He's in great form. Brozier didn't even get himself on the bench through illness, but I think Brozier's really going to struggle to get himself in the starting lineup. Dad, your thoughts?
That goal didn't actually... I was quite surprised when that went in. I was not expecting him to actually finish that.
No.
I thought he did really well to get to it, actually. And it's quite a deft touch to actually give that past Martinez, who I thought you were going to call something else other than a World Cup winning goalkeeper.
Yeah, look, I said that offline. I better not say it online just in case. But yeah, he's a right dickhead. Anyway.
Thank you. I got it out of you anyway.
He's very good at being a dickhead. Like he should win he's already won. He's won a World Cup.
That's what Dad was saying as well. Dad was like, I really like him. I said, what do you mean? He's a dickhead.
Yeah, he's a massive dickhead, but he's got mind games. He's really impressive.
No, I said he's really good, but he's annoying.
Being a dickhead.
Very annoying.
Yeah, but that's what he does. He just gets in players' heads, and then they get really frustrated with him. No one else does that better.
Well,
anyway, it's a really good finish. And Dad, feel free to elaborate on it.
Oh, nothing more than what I said. Actually, I think as Black, White, and Fred, following on the live stream, says, and I totally agree. He's got no right to get to it, and he does really well. Just gets a little cheeky foot to it, and surprised me. And I feel like it's sort of surprised when the net crinkles. I feel like it actually surprises the crowd.
Oh yeah. They're shocked. It's like, I really like Muniz. Like, oh, okay, wait. Let me center myself. Muniz is such a fun little story right now, isn't he? Because there's a serious player in there. Again, I don't know if he I don't know what the fullest extent of his potential actually is, but I mean, he's capable of some really, really good stuff. And I mean, he has that key striker instinct, and he has awesome confidence at the moment. I have no idea what the glass ceiling is, but I'm extremely excited to find out. You know.
Oh, look, it's as you said, it's a great story, and the to our communal relief, he's actually scoring some goals, and if he keeps going at half his conversion rate, job done.
Mm.
And you have to ask a question, about Brozier, but what about Jimenez? We've all forgotten about him. You know, he's going to come back at some point. How's he going to get a game?
Oh, I think there's at the moment it seems like Muniz is making his case. I mean, Jimenez has had this good run as well. Brozier at this point seems like he's going to be our third choice striker when Jimenez comes back. I think Brozier potentially has the most potential of all of those strikers, but you have to pick on form. So at the moment, Muniz is definitely top dog. Jimenez was starting to show his worth and play well, but what a
It's kind
problem
of
for us to
hilarious,
have coming towards the end of the season, where you've got Muniz finally finding his feet. And I think I saw someone on Twitter today say, if you actually look at Muniz's time at Fulham now, based on the last on his performance in the last 3 games, scoring 4 goals, he now averages a goal every other game for Fulham, which is quite a good little stat. That's like a good return for a striker. Any striker would be pretty happy with that. So I don't think Muniz is the answer to all our problems, but at the moment, he's proving that he is a very good goal scorer, which is what we've wanted to see from a striker. And this is the kind of form that I wanted to see when he went to Middlesbrough, because I feel like in the Championship, if he was put into the right system and into the right team, he probably could have knocked away 15, 20 goals last season if he's playing the way he is at the moment. And I'd really like to see, potentially, if we sort of buy a really top-class striker in the off-season next season, see that new signing come in as a starting striker, Jimenez as your backup, and give Muniz another loan spell at it, La Liga, a championship club again, and really let him go off and, knock 20 goals away in a season and get that confidence that you need to kick on to that next level. I think he's starting to get the potential.
On the back of this little piece of form, hopefully he's proven enough to scouts to take him on in the Championship, because he could absolutely do it, and he's got the physicality for the Championship as well. I think on paper he ought to do quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, from there, 2-1, it was a mad final half an hour, 40 minutes or so. And both teams had chances at both ends. I think the main thing for us to talk about from here to sort of round out the game is the performance of the referee. And I don't often want to focus on a referee's performance, and I don't want to say that it's the reason that we lost, but geez, it was not a good performance from the referee. Promoted into the Premier League for the first time, having taken charge of, I heard only 6 games in the Championship this season, but fast track to the Premier League. He just looked out of his depth completely. At the start, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and saying he was refereeing it like it was a Championship game. He let a lot of physicality go and a lot of, I'd say, just strong challenges that more experienced Premier League referees probably call up to control the game early doors. And he let those go, and it just turned the game into a messy shit fight, and he kind of lost control before half time at that point. There were a number of poor decisions, I thought. And yeah, Dad, your thoughts on the refereeing performance?
Well, you know what I'm going to say, because sitting next to you saying it all evening, and I could see what he was trying to do, and I like you. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I think it was he just didn't read the room very well. He just let too many things go, with very, very consciously, I thought, very deliberately.
Yeah.
And he was trying to do the right thing. And I said to you, you watch what's going to happen here. It's going to unravel. Players are going to get frustrated that this is going on, and it'll all go to shit in the latter stages of the game. And look what happened with 5 yellow cards in what, maybe 20 minutes. And that's poor discipline from us, but it's the kind of thing that festers and does eventually bubble up to the surface. There's a lot of metaphors there. I accept that, but you know, it's just the kind of approach that a really, really top experienced referee doesn't get sucked into in trying to play. Let the game flow. There's too many idiots out there. McGinn. Even a couple of our guys putting in some pretty harsh challenges. It was going both ways. I'm not actually blaming the guy necessarily for favouring one side. I think he had it in his head that he wanted to approach the game in a certain way, and he lost control of it. It's a shame, because I bet in another universe he's not a terrible referee, but he just may not get a gig soon after that performance.
Look, I'll play slight devil's advocate here, and this might be a slightly unpopular opinion, but I don't necessarily mind too much. Yes, we lost the game. I'm not happy about that. I do appreciate, though, a shit fight sometimes, and the last 10 minutes is just chaos in this game. And there's the whole second half was very, very intense. And call me old fashioned. I do quite like that edge of your seat, just crazy football. And yeah, I understand it's extremely frustrating because lots of stuff's going around. But
do you know what? I think it's really telling when a player comes straight off the bench and gets a yellow card. Because it's very indicative of the chat on the bench. Everyone's observing what's going on. Everyone's getting wound up about it. Adama comes on. Adama's booked.
His was unlucky. You're thinking of Lukic. Lukic came on, and before even touching the ball, he made a shocking tackle.
No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right about Lukic. But Adama, didn't he give McGinn a massive shoulder? And then had a bit of a chat to him as well?
Possibly, but I think that was actually before he got his booking, though. He got his booking for... It looked like it was a foul on Adama, and he got booked for it. It was like maybe a high foot or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
The ref, he just lost control, and you could see it towards the end. There was a lot of poor challenges that got let go, and then he got card happy, which we see with refs a lot. When they've lost control of the game, they just reach for their pocket because the players get frustrated. They start chatting back. And look, I'd agree that maybe we should be a little bit more controlled in a situation like that. But in the heat of battle, when you're 2-1 down and pushing for another goal, and the ref breaks up everything you try and do, it's tough. And I look at moments like Moreno, terrible tackle as we're sort of breaking down the wing, doesn't get booked for it. Not long after that, he does the exact same thing again, same tackle, gets booked for it. As I saw someone on Twitter say, if he'd been booked for that first challenge, he wouldn't have made that second challenge because he'd already been booked. And that's probably a second yellow card, and he gets sent off. And that's just where this referee lost the plot, because he should have given that first yellow card, and then it changes the course of the game. And if you make a couple of small decisions, you don't realize it at the time, but it really does affect the way the rest of the game is going to be played. And we see it when referees get sucked into giving Pellegrini the yellow card after 10 minutes. It ruins the game for Fulham, because Pellegrini's play is based on those big, hard tackles. And if he gets a yellow card early, he knows he can't do it for the rest of the game.
I also think, and call me out on this if you think I'm wrong, but I actually think that back pass to Martinez not being pulled up was all part of this. I think he didn't have the confidence. Didn't have the confidence to do it. I know it's questionable, but an awful lot of people would have actually 100%. Called that up. And
what
Martinez
kind of referee
played it.
Promoted
Martinez played it really well.
What kind of referee promoted to the Premier League in their first ever game gives an indirect free kick 4 yards out? Never going to happen, because you're
Yeah.
going to be in all the newspapers, and that is 100% in the back of his head going,
Yep.
If I blow the whistle right now, I'm going to get death threats off the back of this. And it's a shame
So-
that that's the case, but
So tell me,
it really is the case.
tell me, why isn't VAR used for a clear and obvious error?
Because they'd probably say that's not a clear and obvious error, because he
Yeah,
does
bullshit.
stab at the ball. He does stab at the ball, and you could easily argue that that is unintentional, and therefore I
Mhm.
think you back the referee at that point. I think it was a back pass personally. I don't know how Martinez so calmly picked that ball up, and I think that's actually part of it, is the fact that Martinez
Yeah, props
doesn't
to him.
control the ball first and then pick the ball. He just picks the ball up as if it's nothing. And you kind of get away with it because of that as well, and it makes it look like not a back pass, because the goalkeeper's going, well, it's not a back pass.
The ref got played.
Yeah.
But the thing that actually triggered me the most about the refereeing performance is second half injury time, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
was a tweet by Fulhamish. There were 5 minutes given. Fulham were looking quite dangerous, and I thought, geez, we're actually half a chance of nabbing something here and maybe getting an injury time goal. Someone's gone back and done the analysis. The ball is in play for 57 seconds in that last 5 minutes, but the referee instantly blows it after 5 minutes of injury time, and that is inexcusable.
He couldn't wait. He couldn't wait to hit the showers, I think.
It's inexcusable for me. The whole point is the referee
Oh,
wears 2 watches for a reason. He keeps time on 2 watches. He didn't stop either watch in injury time, despite the ball only being in play for 1 minute out of the 5. That's poor and inexcusable.
I mean, I do understand that. At the 94th minute, though, I'm pretty sure Adama Traore, what I can only describe as basically a backwards shoulder block to John McGinn. It was getting pretty techie out there. It was everything but chairs. And to be fair, it's like I'll put my hand up. I was thoroughly entertained because it was getting crazy. But I do.
Yeah, but you'd be pissed off if the referee blew in the 86th minute, because there's 4 minutes still to play, and that's the problem.
Yeah, of course, but
VAR.
It was getting pitchy. He definitely wanted to get out of there. You could see it in his face. He was
VAR,
he
Jack.
was
Clear and obvious error. Sorry, the game's not over. Keep playing.
It's happened before. It happened in AFCON. I think one of the referees blew in the 85th minute. 100% match fixing, surely. And then the fourth official said there's 5 minutes to go. 5 minutes of injury time were given, and he still blew in the 90th minute and just walked off the pitch.
No.
Terrible. And it felt a little bit like that in a way. I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd blown in the 90th minute. He may as well have. But look, disappointing. We go down to Villa 2-1. And look, I felt like there was something to get out of this game. I said it beforehand in my top tip, where I tipped for a Mooney's goal and a 1-1 draw. Wasn't too far off it in the end. If we hadn't had that one error, it should have been a draw. And I think Fulham, realistically, the result is probably a fair one, but I don't think it would have been unfair if we'd managed to cop a draw out of this one. Does anyone disagree with that assessment?
Well, I know I got a little bit infamous for producing a list of 20 last week, Jack, but perhaps actually I should take the mantle over the baton for tip of the week, because I had a couple of little multis going there, and I actually pulled one off in the end.
You did. Respect. Dad's $150 richer, so he's buying me dinner this week.
Nice. Respect.
It's all. I think it was one of the many tips I sent through to you as well, so I'm claiming it a little bit. Might be the return of Jack's top tip, though. We'll see.
Do you know? I do actually want to highlight before we move on, just on your original point, Jack. I do actually want to draw attention to a comment from Black, White, and Fred, and we didn't at least concede in extra time. We didn't crumble. We didn't pull Man United, and I'm actually really happy for that, because the game was so chaotic in that last 10 minutes in that extra time that it could have happened, but it actually didn't feel like it was going to happen. But we've been in so many experiences where it doesn't feel like it's going to happen, and then it actually does. So I do actually take that as a positive, because at least we can actually see out the end of a very, very tough game against a very, very tough opposition. And because then it just comes down to, can you get a goal within like the 60-minute period? And that's actually really attainable. There is genuinely, I'll say it again, there is a lot of positives. There is a lot of positives to work from this game. And yeah, I'm not crazy bummed.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it wasn't a terrible performance. It was just underpinned by a bad error and a poor refereeing decision. And I think if things had gone our way, that's potentially a draw, and I'd be very happy with a draw against Villa based on the form they're in this season. Look, guys, next game we've got on the cards, we have a game against Man United this weekend. Now, the big news here is obviously the fact that João Palhinha is out, not injured, suspended. He picked up his 10th yellow card of the season, so he won't be playing against Man United. Sam, I'll throw to you first. You're a massive Palhinha fan. We all know that. How big a loss do you think this will be against Man United?
Oh, I mean, like, look, I mean, I'd name my firstborn son after the man. So that just gives you an idea of how highly I think of him. I don't really want to okay. Join my honest feelings about it. I don't want to think about a game against Man United without João Palhinha. That sentence doesn't make sense to me. I have to adjust to that in some capacity potentially next season, but for right now, I don't want to live that truth. Look, Man United have a plethora of issues. They have a number of things working in their favor, with Rasmus Højlund kind of coming back into form, and Garnacho. That front threes seems to be coming together. Scott McTominay's always been really, really strong, and there are positives there that Man United fans will harp on about and say that it's the dawn of a new beginning, but I largely think that's bollocks. But there's still Man United. This isn't necessarily a game that you can slouch on. So yeah, losing Palhinha for that is a massive, 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 massive blow. I don't really know who you actually put into that mix at this stage. Because, yeah, look, you can put Harrison Reed there. Of course you can put Harrison Reed there. Or maybe you can even put Sasa Lukic there. I mean, against Man United, though, that's not what you want. Like, you need an enforcer for that game. You need somebody in the midfield that literally says, don't come here, I will eat you. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really challenging. Marco Silva's pulled off crazier stuff, though. I don't want to lose to Man United again because I'm getting really sick of it. And I reckon the next 2 to 3 games we'll probably play against them. It's probably the last time we'll actually realistically have an opportunity to beat them.
Jeez,
annoying,
doom
isn't
and
it?
gloom, Sam. This is a Man United team who limped past Luton on the weekend.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be. Luton had 58% possession, more shots on goal than Man United did. I don't think this is
I've been hurt
an
too many
unbeatable
times,
Man
though.
United team.
Oh, no, they're so beatable. And that's the thing that frustrates me about them.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, the one thing that Jack said, quite rightly mentioned, when Palhinha got his yellow card was he's been on the precipice for quite a while. In fact, he's been one short for quite a long time, right? And so if we've got to lose him, maybe not the worst that we lose him against a couple of tough teams, rather than playing lower teams that we absolutely have to put away where we really do need him. Man United at Old Trafford, even if their form is terrible, they're really hard to beat there. I don't want to see Sasa Lukic actually selected in that enforcer role, because he's more Dancing with the Stars than enforcer for me. And I know that's a bit harsh. I don't dislike the guy, but you know, I don't mind him playing alongside Polinia if that's what we're looking for. But Lukic and Reed doesn't inspire me, and that's no shade on Harrison Reed.
Mm.
I know there's been a lot of chat about a possible sort of wild card replacement in Bassi playing at defensive midfield. And I think as someone Black, White, and Fred on the live stream suggested the same thing. I actually quite like the idea of it. Leave Ream at where he is, and push Bassi forward. I'd like to see that.
I don't really like that. I want.
You think about it. He loves a bit of license to come forward, and pushing him one level up the field actually gives him far more license to do that and far more freedom. I don't know that that's his future, but could he do a role there? I'm interested to see how that might actually look.
I get it, but yeah, like Man United will counterattack, and I want a really strong last line of defense. I love Tim Ream, but Man United are pacey, and he's not in the greatest of form. Jack, you say your piece.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I know what you mean by Bassi and its defensive midfield, and I get the idea behind it, but let's remember what it was like when Bassi's playing on the right side of defence when he's a left-sided centre-back. It didn't work. It's a nice idea, and it should potentially work. There seems to be... It seems like it should work, but it just doesn't. So I think don't mess with it. For me, at least, it's obvious that you put Harrison Reed in there. I don't think Lukic has looked the player that we kind of hoped that he would be this season. And Harrison Reed has overall done a pretty good job for us this year. Usually coming off the bench and playing little bit parts, but he has been a decent player. Bassi, I'm just having a look because it's being questioned if Bassi's ever played defensive midfield before. He hasn't. He's played left mid 3 times.
Black, White, and Fred suggests he's played CDM for Nigeria.
Yeah, I'm looking now to see if he has. For in club football, he's made almost 200 appearances and never played defensive midfield. I think maybe he's played as a more advanced centre back. I don't know if he's actually started a game in defensive midfield, but
if not Kelvin Bassi, Jack, who are you pairing Harrison Reed with?
Well, Tom Kenny. But Reed plays in Zhao's position as a defensive midfielder, and you play Kenny and Pereira. Well, probably for me, I'd play Kenny and Iwobi. With Iwobi as the central player, and then I'd play Harry Wilson out on the right. And I assume Willian's probably injured, so maybe Harry Wilson goes to the left and BDR starts on the right. But we have options now. In fact, I'd probably, thinking about that Willian injury, if it's not a very good injury, then I'd probably start Iwobi, Pereira, and Harry Wilson as our sort of attacking 3 there.
Yeah, are you sure Willian's injured?
I'm not 100% sure. He clutched at his hamstring, but we haven't heard anything post-game about if he is injured or if he's not. Not 100% sure.
Could we?
But to your point, sorry, Sam, go ahead.
And I was just about to say, can we even potentially have Iwobi alongside Kenny in that role? I mean, obviously, I love Iwobi outright, and I love him actually as far forward as we can. But I mean, just in terms of,
I think he could. He's played back there before, so I don't think it's out of the question. But I just feel like we lose the balance that we get from having him forward. He's a better player further forward than he is a defensive player, and I think the big thing that we miss with Polinia is that physicality. And although Reed is half his size, I think he's going to put himself about far more than Iwobi or Lukic would. Although Lukic did put in that very hard tackle, so maybe he's trying to prove a bit of a point coming off the bench and going in hard and showing he can go in hard. But I think you don't want to, again, same reason I wouldn't put Bassey at defensive midfield. I think you play players in their strongest position. With Tosin and Bassey both available, I want them both to be starting. Man United have a few little injuries creeping around. Luke Shaw went off injured during the game on the weekend. Martinez is out in defence. Wan-Bissaka is still out in defence. Malassi is out in defence. Harry Maguire got subbed at halftime for a poor performance and looking like he was going to get sent off. It's not the strongest Man United side ever, and yes, they do have some young talent in attack. Højlund's obviously found a bit of form. Garnacho's had a very good season and sort of coming on leaps and bounds. Kobe Mainu as well, who's burst onto the scene, has been pretty good, but Rashford's been off. Fernandes hasn't performed at the levels you kind of expect from him. It's not out of the question that this Fulham team cause a few issues, considering the fact that we do have a fairly full fit squad available. Admittedly missing Palhinha, who's a big key part of it. But look, if Luton can cause Man United issues, then why can't Fulham? I think man for man, we're a better side than Luton. And as a team, as a unit, we're a better side than Luton. And I feel like this Man United side just aren't there yet. Things are starting to click for them, but they're not there yet. And lose someone influential like Luke Shaw to injury, have a few players being a little bit off. Maguire and Casemiro both got subbed at halftime against Luton, despite them being 2-1 up, because Ten Hag said they just were at risk of getting sent off, not playing very well, and so he wanted to protect them. I think we shouldn't write this one off, even though we're missing Palhinha, is my point here, effectively.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I think that's fair. Look, it's definitely attainable. I'm just scared of getting hurt again, because the hurt have happened many times now. But I can literally foresee it. I know I'm going to believe for a full 80 minutes, and I will be genuinely expecting to get my heart broken around about the 80 to 90 minute mark, because that's what happens when we play Man United. But not this time. Not this time. Maybe this time. We'll see.
We will see. Let's have a quick look at the table. Fulham still sitting in 12th place. Fortunately, the result not affecting us too much. Bournemouth sitting just below us on 28 points, although we do have a game in hand over them. Brentford on 25 points below us. Forest and Palace both on 24 points. Luton sitting just outside the relegation zone on 20, and we now have a 10-point buffer over Everton. So we're 10 points clear of the drop zone. There's a bit of a gap opening up above us with 6 points adrift of Wolves and Chelsea, who sit in 11th and 10th, 7 points adrift of West Ham, 8 points adrift of Newcastle, and 9 adrift of Brighton in 7th. Man United sitting in 6th place on 44 points, who we play this weekend. Not the most impressive goal difference from Man United, 35 goals scored. If you look up, all the teams above them have over 50 goals. So, in fact, the teams below them, Brighton have 48 and Newcastle have 53. So Man United really struggling to put the ball in the back of the net this season, averaging not even 1.5 goals a game. But they've been pretty sure in defence, 34 goals conceded, which is sort of around par for that sort of position in the table. Go on, Sammy.
Yeah, I think one key point about Man United that we are missing, Rasmus Højlund is the youngest player apparently to score 6 in 6 games. Very likely he'll probably score a 7th as well. His form is that hot right now.
Not that impressed. I think he's a good young player, but I think he has potential, but I haven't seen enough from him to think that he's someone we should be terrified of. To be honest, I was more worried about facing someone like Broja when we played against Chelsea than Højlund, for example. So I feel like if we play with Bassey and Tosin at the back, I'm not overly worried about Højlund. I feel like Tosin will deal with all of the aerial threat, and Bassey's got a little bit more pace about him than all of our other defenders, and the physicality to sort of put Højlund on his ass a few times. And I think the biggest threat comes from someone like Fernandes, deep, creating things. We saw the passes that he's put in against us in the last few times we played against Man United. So that's definitely where the danger lies for me. Whoops. Guys, I think that's actually everything. We've covered off everything in an hour, which is a massive effort for us. I don't know if there's anything you guys want to touch on. One thing I would say is recently on Twitter, we have put out the call for anyone who's interested in joining the That's So Craven team. We're looking for someone hopefully based over in the UK who can help us with a bit of content on game days and post-game and pre-game. So if you are interested or know of anyone who might be interested, please do get in contact. Let us know. No experience necessary. We just want to see a few lovely faces apply, and hopefully we can expand the team a bit and create a bit more content for you and a bit more instant content pre and post game.
Honestly, if I'm allowed to do this, then the like everyone is welcome, provided that they have a confident opinion. I want to hear it. I want to like sing to me. Show us your stuff. We're really excited about it. I'm so tired right now. You guys say other things.
Stop talking, Sam.
Yeah.
You cut me off. Don't say you're so tired. Just keep stum. But look, it's a big week ahead with the game against Man United. We've got a tough little run coming up at the moment. So we do need to try and pick up points somewhere along the line. Maybe it's time for us to finally get that win against United that we've been so close to over the last couple of years. So look, we will probably cover the Fulham women's loss in the Capital One Cup, in the Capital Cup in the next podcast. It's only just happened, so we're still without a huge amount of detail on it, but I would like to make sure we do cover that. So hopefully in the next podcast, we'll have a bit more information and we can preview the next league game as well. But until then, I think, Dad, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome. Enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
And Sammy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent,
good, Sammy.
That was so good.
Keep to that going forward. I really like that. That's a best contribution so far.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's my star sign is Taurus. Yeah.
Where's that mute button gone? Thank you, guys, and thank you to everyone on the live stream. It's been great seeing so many comments coming through as we're chatting here. We really appreciate people joining in. And as always, come on, you Whites.